The first drop of rain hit the coffin just as he pushed the church door open. Everyone turned their heads at once. The man froze, 1 foot inside, 1 foot out, his chest rising too fast. The sound of the rain grew heavier, drumming against the roof like impatient fingers. A woman in black sniffed loudly. Somewhere near the altar, the pastor cleared his throat. "We gather here today," the pastor said, voice steady, "to lay to rest our brother." The man's ears rang. The pastor continued, "Daniel Okorie." Daniel's breath caught. That was his name. His legs carried him forward before his mind could stop them. He moved down the aisle slowly, his shoes leaving faint wet marks on the floor. No one questioned him. No one stopped him. A few people glanced his way, then looked back at the front, as if he were just another mourner. Daniel stared at the coffin. Dark wood, polished, closed. A white card rested on top. Daniel Okorie, born 1989, died 2026. "No," he whispered. The woman beside him shifted, hugging her handbag tighter. "Excuse me," she muttered, not looking at him. Daniel touched his chest. His heart thudded hard. He was breathing. He was standing. He was alive. So why were they burying him? He slid into a seat at the back, fingers shaking. The pastor spoke on, words floating past Daniel like smoke. Daniel's eyes stayed fixed on the coffin. "That's not me," he whispered again. A memory hit him, sharp, sudden. The bridge. The argument. The rain that night too. He remembered shouting into the phone, his brother's voice angry on the other end. He remembered the headlights, the swerve, the splash. Then nothing. "Daniel was a good man," the pastor said. Daniel almost laughed. A murmur of agreement rippled through the church. Someone coughed. Someone else sobbed. "Good man?" Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "This has to be a mistake," he murmured. The old man seated in front of him turned slightly. "Mistake?" he repeated. Daniel stiffened. I mean, it's just hard to believe." The old man nodded slowly. "Death always is." Daniel swallowed. "Did you know him well?" The old man hesitated. "Enough." That answer bothered Daniel more than a lie would have. The pastor gestured toward the front row. "We will now hear from the family." Daniel's stomach twisted. His brother, Samuel, stood up. Samuel looked thinner, older. His shoulders were tense, his jaw tight like it always got when he was angry or afraid. Samuel cleared his throat. "My brother," he began, voice cracking just enough to sound convincing, "was complicated." Daniel scoffed under his breath. "You don't say." Samuel went on. "We didn't always agree, but he was family, and family matters." Daniel's hands clenched. That wasn't what Samuel said the last time they spoke. "You're selfish, Dan," Samuel had snapped over the phone. "You think the world owes you something." Daniel remembered yelling back, "At least I didn't spend my life hiding behind excuses." The old man in front of Daniel shifted again, glancing back briefly. Daniel forced his face still. Samuel wiped his eyes. "I wish I'd said more when he was alive." Daniel leaned back, anger burning hot in his chest. "You had your chance," he whispered. A woman stood next. His wife. Or rather, the woman who had been his wife. Miriam smoothed her black dress before speaking. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Daniel was passionate," she said carefully. "He felt deeply. Sometimes too deeply." Daniel shook his head slowly. "Say it," he muttered. "Say I was difficult." Miriam continued, "Marriage isn't easy. We struggled. But I believe Daniel meant well." Meant well, Daniel thought. Past tense. A tear slid down Miriam's cheek. She wiped it quickly, as if embarrassed by it. Daniel felt something twist inside him. He hadn't expected that tear. A woman beside Miriam squeezed her hand. "You were strong," the woman whispered. Daniel heard it. Strong. Not broken. Not lonely. Not exhausted. Just strong. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. This was his life, reduced to safe words and polite pauses. The pastor nodded solemnly. "Thank you, Miriam." Daniel pressed his lips together. He wanted to stand, to shout, to ask why no one was angry enough or devastated enough or honest enough. Instead, he stayed seated. The old man in front of him leaned back slightly. "He didn't sound so terrible," the old man said quietly. Daniel laughed softly. "That's because they're not telling the truth." The old man studied him. "Funerals aren't for truth. They're for comfort." Daniel frowned. "Comfort for who?" "For the living." The words settled heavily. A woman stood to speak next, his former colleague. "Daniel was dedicated," she said. "Hard-working. Quiet." Quiet? Daniel almost turned around to see if there was another coffin with another name. As she spoke, Daniel's phone vibrated in his pocket. He froze. Slowly, carefully, he pulled it out. No signal, but a notification sat on the screen. "Unknown contact. You shouldn't be here." Daniel's throat went dry. He typed quickly. "Who is this?" The message showed as unread. He glanced around the church, heart racing. Everyone else stared forward, faces solemn, unaware. The old man turned again. "Everything all right?" Daniel forced a nod. "Yes, just memories." The old man hummed. "They come hard at funerals." Daniel looked back at the coffin. The rain intensified, thunder rumbling faintly in the distance. Another message appeared. "Unknown contact. When the last prayer is said, it will be too late." Daniel's fingers tightened around the phone. Too late for what? He lifted his gaze, and for the first time he noticed something strange. The coffin was shaking. Not much, just enough. A soft knock echoed through the church. Once, then again. Daniel's breath stopped. Someone else heard it. A woman gasped. The pastor paused mid-sentence. The knock came again. Daniel rose slowly to his feet. "That's not supposed to happen," he whispered. The old man stared at the coffin, eyes wide. "No," he said. "It's not." Daniel took a step forward. And somewhere deep inside him, a terrible thought began to form. What if the funeral wasn't wrong? What if he was? The knock came again, louder this time. Someone screamed. The pastor stepped back from the pulpit. Please remain calm," he said, though his own voice shook. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. He took another step toward the front. The aisle felt longer now, like it was stretching just to test him. "That's enough," a man in the front row said sharply. "This is disrespectful." Daniel stopped beside him. "You hear it too, don't you?" The man glanced up at Daniel, startled. "Hear what?" "The knocking," Daniel said. "From the coffin." The man hesitated. Maybe it's the rain." Daniel shook his head. "That's not rain." The old man from the back had stood up now as well. "I've attended too many funerals," he said quietly. "Coffins don't knock." The church filled with whispers. "What's happening? Is this a joke? Someone should check." Miriam stood abruptly. "Open it," she said. Everyone turned to her. "What?" Samuel snapped. "Are you mad?" Miriam's hands trembled. "If someone is in there, we can't just pray over them." Daniel stared at her. He hadn't expected that from her either. The pastor hesitated. "This isn't protocol." The knocking stopped. Silence fell so fast it felt violent. Daniel exhaled shakily. His phone vibrated again. "Unknown contact. You see now." He typed back. "See what?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. The pastor wiped his forehead. "Let us continue," he said, forcing calm. "We will not allow fear to." The knock came again, harder. Someone near the door ran out. A child began to cry. "That's it," Samuel said. "We're opening it." "No," the pastor protested. Samuel was already moving. 2 other men joined him. They gripped the edges of the coffin lid. Daniel felt sick. His legs carried him forward until he was standing just a few feet away. "Wait," Daniel said aloud. Several heads turned. Samuel frowned. "Who are you?" Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He stared at his brother, really looked at him, and saw the exhaustion beneath the anger. The guilt Samuel tried so hard to hide. "I said wait." Daniel repeated, softer now. Miriam looked at him closely, her brow furrowed. Do I know you? Daniel swallowed. You used to. Her breath caught. Just slightly. The men paused. The knocking stopped again. The lid creaked as Samuel's fingers tightened. Who are you? He demanded. Daniel stepped closer. Someone who knows Daniel Okorie didn't deserve this. Samuel laughed bitterly. You didn't know him. Daniel's voice shook. I was him. Silence. Then laughter. One sharp bark from someone near the aisle. This isn't funny. Samuel's jaw tightened. Get him out of here. Two men moved toward Daniel. The old man spoke up. Let him talk. Why? Samuel snapped. Because, the old man said. He's shaking like a man looking at his own grave. Daniel met Samuel's eyes. You told the police I was drunk that night. Samuel froze. Miriam's head snapped toward him. What? Samuel's voice dropped. He doesn't know what he's saying. Daniel continued, words spilling out now. You said it was my fault. That I always drove angry. That I wouldn't listen. Samuel's face drained of color. Stop. But you never said we argued, Daniel said. You never said you hung up on me. Murmurs filled the church. Miriam stared at Samuel. Is this true? Samuel looked away. It doesn't matter. It matters, Daniel said. Because if they believe I caused it, no one looks closer. Miriam stepped forward. Closer at what? Daniel's phone buzzed again. Unknown contact. Careful. Daniel ignored it. At the body you buried. The room erupted. What do you mean? Is he accusing us? This is madness. The pastor raised his hands. Enough. Daniel shook his head. That's not my body in there. Samuel snapped. We identified it. You identified a man burned beyond recognition. Daniel shot back. You identified a wallet. A ring. Miriam's hand flew to her mouth. Daniel lifted his left hand. The ring you sold last year. Gasped. Miriam whispered. Daniel never took it off. Samuel's fists clenched. This is insane. The old man leaned toward Daniel. Then who's in the coffin? Daniel's throat tightened. Someone who died alone. The knocking started again. Faster now. Panicked. Miriam screamed. Open it. No. The pastor shouted. Daniel stepped forward. If you open it, you seal it. What are you talking about? Miriam cried. Daniel's phone vibrated violently. Unknown contact. If they see the face, you don't leave. Daniel whispered. Please, don't. Samuel stared at him. Why should I listen to you? Daniel's voice broke. Because I forgave you. Samuel faltered. The knocking stopped. Slow footsteps echoed behind Daniel. A woman's voice whispered. He's not lying. Everyone turned. An elderly woman stood near the altar, eyes milky with age. I saw him this morning, she said calmly. The pastor frowned. Madam. He bought bread, she continued. He smiled. He said it would rain. All eyes returned to Daniel. Miriam stepped closer, her voice trembling. Daniel. Daniel met her gaze. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to stay. Tears streamed down her face now, unrestrained. Samuel took a step back, shaking his head. No. No, this can't be. The lights flickered. The coffin shook violently. A crack split the lid. Someone screamed Daniel's name. Daniel closed his eyes. He knew then. This funeral wasn't about goodbye. It was about a choice. And he was running out of time. The crack in the coffin widened with a sharp sound that cut through the church like a scream. Everyone step back, the pastor shouted. No one moved. Daniel opened his eyes. His hands were trembling, but his mind felt strangely clear. He understood now what the messages meant. He wasn't here by accident. He wasn't here to expose anyone or prove he was alive. He was here to finish something. Samuel, Daniel said quietly. His brother looked at him like he was seeing a ghost for the first time. If you're really him, Samuel whispered, then where have you been? Daniel swallowed, trying to decide if my life was worth coming back to. Miriam gasped softly. The old man at the back spoke again. And have you decided? Daniel hesitated. The coffin shook again once, then went still. A low voice filled the room. Not loud, but heavy, as if it came from everywhere at once. Time is almost gone. People cried out. Someone dropped to their knees. The pastor backed away, crossing himself repeatedly. This isn't of God, he whispered. Daniel felt his phone vibrate one last time. Unknown contact. Say it now. He raised his head. I wasn't a good man, he said. The room fell silent. I was angry. I pushed people away. I thought being right mattered more than being kind. His voice broke. I thought there would be time. Miriam shook her head. Daniel, please. I hurt you, he said, looking at her. Not because I didn't love you, but because I didn't know how to show it without pride. Tears slid down her face. I waited, she whispered. I waited for you to choose us. I know, Daniel said softly. And I'm sorry. Samuel stepped forward. His voice was raw. You don't get to do this. You don't get to disappear and then come back and fix things with words. Daniel nodded. You're right. The old man tilted his head. Then why are you still here? Daniel turned toward the coffin. Because I need to let go. The lid creaked open slightly on its own. A smell of damp earth filled the air. Miriam screamed, Close it! Daniel shook his head. Don't. He took one step closer. The voice returned, louder now. Choose. Samuel grabbed Daniel's arm. If you walk away, we lose you forever. Daniel looked at his brother's hand on his sleeve. He remembered childhood laughter, shared secrets, late-night talks before everything hardened. You already lost me, Daniel said gently. I just didn't know it yet. Miriam sobbed openly now. I still love you. Daniel smiled sadly. That's why this hurts. The coffin opened fully. Inside was a body. Burned, broken, unrecognizable. Someone retched. Daniel stared at it. He felt no fear, only a deep, aching sadness. That man died alone, Daniel said. No one said his name. No one waited for him. The old woman near the altar nodded. The dead don't want company, she said. They want truth. Daniel turned back to the room. You buried a stranger because it was easier than asking questions. Samuel dropped to his knees. I was angry, he whispered. I didn't look closely. I know, Daniel said. And I forgive you. The coffin began to close by itself. The lights steadied. The air grew still. Daniel felt lighter, as if something heavy had been lifted from his chest. The voice spoke one last time. It is done. Daniel took a step back. Then another. Miriam reached for him and passed through empty air. Daniel was gone. The church stood frozen in silence. The rain outside slowed. Weeks later, Miriam sat alone in their old apartment, holding a small box. Inside was Daniel's ring, returned anonymously. She whispered, I'm sorry too. Samuel started visiting the old man at the church every Sunday. They never spoke about the funeral. They didn't need to. The grave remained unmarked. No name. No dates. Only grass. Sometimes people swore they saw a man standing at the back of funerals, quiet, watching, listening, learning. If the story made you pause, if it made you think about the words you haven't said, or the people you assume will always be there, take a moment. Like the video, subscribe for more stories that stay with you, and comment below. If you attended your own funeral, what truth do you think you'd hear? Because some stories don't end when the coffin closes. They begin when we finally listen.